is going on, guys and girls? It's the Short Bear, and today we're going to talk about filings. That's the thing that I was asked about the most. So today I'm going to give you an overview about every single filing, and in separate videos I'm going to go in depth talking about every single filing that I'm going to present to you today. The first filing that is, in my eyes, the most important one is the 10K. The 10K is the annual report. It basically gives a summary of the company's financial performance. You're going to find the most information in the 10Q regarding a company, such as the company's history, the executive compensation, the structure of the equity, subsidiaries, and the audited financial statements. In the 10Q, you're going to find the unaudited financial statements, which is one thing that you're going to find in the 10K that you won't find in the 10Q. So this is what you're going to see on top, alright? And that's what you're going to see on BAM SEC. Those are the financial statements, and they're going to be filed as 10K, 10Q, and so on. And you're going to find them under financials. This is what it looks like. Alright, the first thing that you're going to see is the name of the company, alright, where the company is at and where they register the company, and also right away the outstanding shares that you're going to find right here, and they're going to be right under it. This is the financial statements that we talked about just before, alright, right here, the audited financial statements. And you're going to find a lot of information about, well, the balance sheet. So you're going to find the cash situation, how much assets they have, how much current assets they have, how much basically things like account payable, all the current liabilities and total liabilities, and that's basically what I read. And where I pull out the information that I post to you in chat most of the time. The 10Q is basically the same thing as a 10K, but it's a quarterly report. So the 10K will be annually and the 10Q is quarterly. You're going to have 3 per year, so you're going to have 3 10Qs, and at the end of the year you're going to have a 10K basically recapping the whole year. There's not as much information in the 10Q as in the 10K. The 10K is basically the most formal one, and then you have the 10Q basically, alright? Most of the time I'm going to pull out the information from the 10Q because I want the most recent cash situation. I just want the most recent filings. So if you see the filings, you don't really need to go in depth in the 10K if the 10K is, for example, from the beginning of the year, whereas the 10Q would be from the end of March. So in this case, I'm going to go and look up the 10Q instead of the 10K because it's the most recent filing. This is what a 10Q looks like, alright? It's basically structured exactly the same or nearly exactly the same as a 10K. The 10K, in the 10K, the financial statements are going to be on the bottom. And on the 10Q, it's going to be at pretty much the start of the filing. But it looks exactly the same, alright? You're going to have the outstanding shares right in here, so on the first or second page, where they got registered and the name of the company. Same thing here, as you can see, the financial statements. This one is unaudited, whereas in the 10Q it's audited, alright? That's what you see right here. But as you can see, both this one and this one are from the same company, alright? So this one would be from the end of December 2018, that's the cash situation back then, alright? The same thing here, total current assets and total current liabilities. And this is basically the newest filing, so as you can see, they had 47 million cash, and from December they basically burned 10 million, which leaves them with 36 million. And yeah, total current assets moved from 62 million to 51, as you can see, basically based on the cash, which takes 10 million, and yeah, same thing with the other information. It's basically all updated for the end of March 2019, and it's going to compare it to the end of December 2018, which you can see as the most recent one in the 10K. So that's why I'm looking at the 10Q most of the time, because the information is the newest one. The 8K. An 8K is a report of unscheduled material events or corporate changes at a company that could be of importance to the shareholder, so you as a person that holds the shares, or basically the SEC, which overviews everything in the market. The 8K is, you're going to find a lot of different things in 8Ks, so things like bankruptcy, executives leaving or getting hired, a notice of the listing, change in accountants, or something like a reverse stock split, or also PR. So things that you will see as a PR on Yahoo Finance, for example, could also be reported in an 8K, as it is important to the shareholders and the SEC. So this, for example, is the same company as, so everything is the same company, so in this case VLRX, and in this one they are announcing a reverse stock split for 1:20. So it's so if you want the most accurate information about something that happened with the company, and you see some kind of PR or something, and you want to see if it's really true, just compare it and research if you can find it in the filings. If the news seems important, you will see it as an 8K also in the filings. Form 3. So a Form 3 must be filed whenever a new insider acquires 10% or more of a company for the first time. Now, it's important to know what an insider is, because it's basically, if you're an insider, you will have to file other forms than if you're not. An insider consists of directors and officers of a company, as well as any shareholder owning 10% or more of the company's outstanding stock. If you have more than 10% in a company, you will have to file far more than if you own less than 10%. So in this case, that's Form 3, all right? Form 3s, you're going to see them most of the time near the IPO date of a stock. That's when every single investor and so on comes in and files for the first time, basically, because the company is new and you've got the new investors coming in, so they have to file Form 3. So in this case, the Form 3 is from Saldenha Joseph, all right? This is where he's from, all right? So in this case, Veritas Holdings, so it's an insider, I think, as the address is basically from the company, VLRX being Veritas Holdings. You've got the address and so on, all right? And that's basically to file the filing, explaining basically who he is, all right? Now the Form 4, all right? It must be filed whenever there is a material change in the holdings of the company's insiders. And same thing, the insider consists of a director, officer of the company, as well as shareholders owning more than 10%. So if you want to sell, if you have more than 10% and you want to sell some part of it, you've got to file the Form 4. Same thing if you want to acquire more, all right? Or if there is a change in the holding, meaning maybe, yeah, basically selling or acquiring more, or some kind of shares get converted or something like that. This is what a Form 4 would look like, and same thing, that's from Salahenda, or Saldenha Joseph, alright, and he filed the Form 4 after the Form 3. He is same thing, same address, same person basically, and in this case, you're going to look at the table that is below, alright, derivative securities acquired, disposed of, blah, 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 so it tells you what got bought and what got sold. And in this case, you will see that, alright, he bought at conversion of exercise price of derivative security at $3.43, alright, at this date. And here is basically, so if you would have something in here, that would mean he disposed of these shares at this price, but in this case it's an A, which means acquired. So he acquired 60,000 shares at an average price of $3.43, right? And yeah, that's basically it. So you know who owns the shares and where he bought them and at which date. SG13D. The 13D must be filed by anyone who acquires the ownership in a public company and that owns more than 5% of the voting class. Now, keep in mind, these are a voting class. So SG13D will be needed, so you're going to have to file this filing if your plan is to vote, so to be active in a company. That's why we call it active investor, because you're trying to vote and so on. So you're trying to also to lead the company a certain way. All right, this is what it's going to look like. All right, nothing special. So in this case, this person, Capital Royalty, or this entity has a certain amount of shares, as you can see. And they've got right here shared voting power. They have 850 shares, which is in this case 8.8% of the outstanding shares. So you can see it right in here, I think, based upon 9,639,000 shares of the stock outstanding, all right, which is, as you can see, 800,000, right around 10%, 8.8%. The SG13G is basically the same as a 13D, and it must be filed by anyone who acquires ownership in a public company of more than 5% of the outstanding stock. The thing that is different from a 13D is that you are a passive investor, which means you don't want to exercise any control over the company. You're just basically investing in a company, or you've got your reasons basically, but you're just investing in a company. You're not trying to exercise control over it. This is what it's going to look like. So in this case, this person owns 9.9% of the outstanding shares. The S3 now we're getting into dilution sector. The S3 is the most simplified SEC registration form that allows you to offer security. So once you want, or if you want to raise capital and you want it to be as easy as possible, you're going to file an S3. You could also raise or offer securities through an S1, but that's going to be a separate video. It allows you to offer securities without a separate prospectus. Prospectus being the 424B something, so 424B5, 424B4, 3. But you don't need that with an S3, meaning if in the S3 you find 100 million, for example, and it's written down as the S3 is going to be, or the 100 million is going to be an ATM, or as a form, in the form of an ATM, and you get the effect filing, you will be able to use this ATM. But at the same time, you can also file the S3 with, let's say, 100 million, but you don't specify the price or the sort of security that you want to offer. So for example, you could have an ATM, or you could have warrants or something else, all right? And you don't have to put it in the S3 right away. So that's where the word shelf comes in, all right? The shelf is the S3. You've got 100 million that you don't use, you put it on the shelf basically, and you can use it through prospectuses. So 424B5, for example, and you could just take a small amount of the 100 million and offer it in a prospectus during the 3 next years. So an S3 is only good for 3 years, starting at the date it was filed. Alright, this is what an S3 will look like. So you're going to have the basic information, alright, same thing as in a 10K or 10Q. And in this case, VLRX has an S3 out, alright, from the date. Is it here somewhere? I can't seem to find it right here, but normally you're going to have date, alright. here, as filed with the SEC on October 4th, 2017, so 3 years after that, which means 2020, the S3 is still good. And you can see right here that the ATM is for the ATM, the S3, I mean, sorry, is for 20 million. And it's not specified right here, so as you can see, preferred stock, warrants, and so on, and nothing, all right? It's basically only 20 million, so in this case, they could file a 424B5, for example, for 5 million and put it as warrants or ATM or something that they want to offer. So that's why the S3 is so great, because you can choose between, all right, do we want an ATM right now, or do we want to offer in the future? That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If anything is unclear, please tell me in the comments or in chat, and I'll see you in the next videos.